Yo, what's good? You already know who it is. It's your boy Chuck Diesel. And this one is for the guys. Another one for my fellas to help us be better men and to know who we are, what we want, and where we're going. All right. So for this topic today, we're going to be talking to the nice guys and explaining what it is to be a nice guy. This can apply to women too, but we're going to focus on being a nice guy. All right. So essentially, nice guy syndrome is a man who believes that being excessively nice or kind and sometimes even self-sacrificing is going to help him in the long run, create more friends, winning people over. But particularly, we're going to be talking about with women and becoming essentially a yes man in order to gain a woman's admiration, because you're not going to gain her respect that way. One thing about women, they are way better at men at seeing, sensing, and smelling out power dynamics, and becoming a yes man or a nice guy automatically, unfortunately, people put you as subservient and below. So we'll get into more of that. But traits of a nice guy is pretty much just consistently and always going out of your way to please other people, sometimes to avoid confrontation. You don't want to get in an argument, so you apologize and you didn't do anything wrong. You let someone mistreat you, and instead of saying, hey, I don't like that, you just accept the treatment because you don't want it to become a bigger deal. And sometimes this causes you to bury and suppress your own needs and your own desires. You also feel entitled to certain treatment from people because it's like, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, so you should be also doing X, Y, and Z. And when you don't get the output from others that you're expecting, it can create negative feelings in yourself. Anger, resentment, jealousy. I'm always breaking my back for them and they never care about me. So the root causes of this start from when we're young, being a kid, and we're taught to be polite, to avoid conflict, to not be difficult. And a lot of the time, this is at the expense of what is going on to or with us, and this creates people pleasing. So in order to keep your mom from being upset, you didn't tell her that you needed something, or your little brother was using your stuff instead of his again, but instead of telling him about it, you just expected him to share next time. These things carry over with us into adulthood and make us rationalize treatment from other people that we don't like, but we don't speak out about. We justify it for them. And sometimes being in society, there's an emphasis that men should be gentlemen, that men should be kind, they should be chivalrous, that they should help women out, that they should carry the bags and open the doors. And I'm not telling you not to carry bags and not to open doors. It's just a lot of some of the expectations that we put on ourselves as being nice guys. I self-identify with being a nice guy. I won't even lie to you. Comes from a societal expectation of, I'm going to be the man that they tell us about in storybooks. Like, I'm not trying to be anybody's Prince Charming, but I'm doing all the things that I think a Prince Charming would do, just because that's the character that I've developed in a sense. But that's from society expectations that men should be gentlemen and put others first. But this becomes extra and unhealthy when you do it all the time. It leads to a pattern of denying yourself what you actually want to do in your own needs. You start to lack assertiveness, is something that I've learned. The more that you make space for other people's wants and needs, you diminish your own. So when it is time for you to speak up about what it is you want and need, you don't know how to do it. Or you do it in a nice way because you're trying to avoid the conflict and the confrontation. So it's said softly, or it's said in a nice way or matter-of-factly, where depending on who the person is who's receiving it, if they're not looking out for your interest, they're not even registering it, or if they were trying to get over or take advantage, they're going to try and bypass it. So if you do not make it a forefront matter, they'll leave it on the back burner. Until you make it a big deal, I'll never make it a big deal, essentially, because I'm trying to get, not give. You saying there are certain things that you require or that you would like or that you need to feel comfortable or go through a certain situation or continue a transaction or a pattern makes them have to address it. And if they don't want to, they're going to do everything to avoid it. And it's easy if you don't make it a challenge, if you don't make it a big deal, if you don't make it a conversation. Another thing that causes you to become a nice guy is the fear of rejection. You think if you speak up, you'll be pushed away. And that sometimes is the case, but it's also okay, because that means that person was not trying to meet you where you were at or where you needed to be met. They were trying to meet you where they wanted to meet you whenever they wanted to. This is not a mutual give and take. If you speak up about something, or if you don't speak up about something because you feel as if it's going to break the situation and relationship, then you probably should actually speak up about it, because that's a problem. You should never be afraid to address shortcomings and things that you need if it's for the better of a situation for two parties, whether it's your job. I need this out of my job in order to do my job well, in order to feel comfortable at my job, in order to feel safe. I need these things out of my partner in order to be the best partner that I can be. We have to learn to speak up. Nice guys avoid standing up for themselves or expressing the true opinions because they don't want other people to not agree or to not deal with them because of their opinions. Don't do that. Have your opinion. The more you have an opinion and speak out about it, the more that the people who you find yourself surrounded with are going to agree with those types of opinions, because you're going to surround yourself with mutual people, with a mutual understanding about what it is to live life. It is also going to have a negative impact, and this also can have a negative impact on your self-worth. When you start sacrificing your personal needs by always putting others first, you start to diminish your own sense of self. So more spaces you put yourself in, you become smaller and smaller and smaller because you're used to it, and you start to not realize when you are doing it. Also, becoming a nice guy, essentially a people pleaser, leads to an imbalance in relationships. In romantic relationships, a lot of time, a nice guy might end up feeling unappreciated, like he's being taken advantage of, and resentful of the other person because they don't feel as if what they were doing was being reciprocated. And now they're frustrated because they don't know what else to do in their relationship. They start to doubt themselves and everything they were doing. And now they feel like they might not be enough because I was doing all of this stuff and now I feel like I have to do more stuff. What about me or the person I am without doing these things? That's why you never lead with what you can do for somebody. And again, when it comes to being in relationships, when you start becoming a nice guy, you look like you're soft, like you're a pushover. And I'm going to say this, women do not like pushovers. They do not want someone who's soft. I'm not going to say that women are inherently soft, but a lot of women will like to believe they're a little more sensible and sensitive than a man, and at least the man that they want to be with. So if they're unable to do something, they would love it if their big, strong man could do it. If their man's not even able to tell them no sometimes, how is he ever going to tell anybody else no? And in a situation where I'm not standing up for myself, if he can't stand up for himself, how can I expect him to stand up for me? And this is inherently how it trickles out in women's brains. I think, this is my opinion, I'm not a woman, but from having conversations with women about not liking nice guys and just having a lot of conversations around the dating space and concept, the idea of a nice guy means you're weak. No one wants to be with a weak partner, because if this woman keeps coming on to you or touching you or flirting with you and you too nice to tell her to stop because you don't want to get into an argument, now I feel some type of way. Or we out and I'm telling you that this dude did something or said something to me and he's continuing to do it. I want you to make him stop. Instead, we leave. Now, how do I feel and how do I look? So you cannot become the nice guy. You have to be comfortable with making other people uncomfortable sometimes, especially when it's in the best interest of multiple parties, because you're not being a nuisance. You're just speaking up for the group. And sometimes speaking up for the group starts with speaking up for you, and at least practicing speaking up for yourself. So once you're in a position to speak up for the group, you know how to do it. And another thing that this is very bad for is creating a sense of entitlement. Because like I said, you'll start thinking that since I did this, then other people should do this as well. You think that you being nice means that other people are going to be nice and that you deserve affection for your niceties. So in relationships, you do things for your partner and now you're expecting them to like you more, or for them to love you more because of what you've been doing by saying, yes, can you grab this for me? Yes, will you do this for me? Can you say your partner doesn't have a car? Can you take me here? Can you meet me here? Can you drop me off? Can you buy me this? If you're constantly meeting their needs or even just in being on the phone with them all the time and they're having a tough day. So you end what you're doing early to go do what they want you to do, or they want to have a date night on a night that you don't think will work for your schedule. But instead of saying no, you take whatever comes with it. So they're happy. It can be more than just physically spending money on something you don't want to do. You can just push yourself too far physically. They want to do something physically that you're not sure you're up to, but you'll give it a try. And now they're saying, keep going. Come on. Don't turn around now. Oh, okay, we can keep going. I don't want to make you sad. Now you in bed because you know your knee is bad, bruh, and you missed a day of work. And now you don't really have the bread to go out on this date, but she wants to go on this date. So not only did you physically push yourself too far, you're hindering your own future by not being able to go to work, but you're still willing to spend money on making her satisfied. That's the triple entendre of just, wow, being too nice. Becomes self-sacrificial sometimes. And that means you have a trouble with setting up boundaries, which means you're not able to protect yourself. So like I was saying, if you're with a woman, she wants to know that her man is able to protect her in cases where she might not feel able to do it herself. And if he's not able to protect himself, how can I expect him to protect me? That's why boundaries are very important. I feel like the list can just go on and on and on. Another bad thing about becoming a nice guy is inauthenticity. You'll start to show up as who people expect you to be or as the person you think people are expecting. You'll accommodate things that you normally wouldn't. You'll go along with situations that you normally wouldn't. And sometimes once you start doing this and people notice, it might look like you're being manipulative. It might look like you're trying to get angles on things, but really you're just really friendly. People might start to feel like they're not getting a true version of who you are because you're so easygoing with everything that's happening. And again, for me personally, this is something that I had to sit with and think about. Is I never thought about that. But being the type of person I was raised to be, I was raised by my grandma and in the church. Like, everybody was nice for the most part. So for me personally, as long as it's not taking me back or hurting me or making me in some type of deficit, I'm down for it. Because I have enough self-respect and boundaries for myself that I already have a limit for what I'm willing to do and where I'm willing to go for anybody I don't know, and then for people I do know. So it's a pretty big band on that. It's not gonna hurt me, so I'll say yes most of the time. If it's not taking my time away or my money away, most of the time I'll say yes or whatever, especially when I'm in my free time where I'm not working. I'm down for whatever, man, as long as it's not costing me no money. I've learned that people start to think that you're just a pushover or that you need them or that you need attention or something, or really you're just being a nice guy. And so people will start to look at you for being overly giving and overly kind and overly nice because they don't believe it's real, especially if they didn't know you liked this type of stuff. I say you have a friend who is in music and then you meet somebody who says that they want to do like, I don't know, some CrossFit stuff. And you say, oh yeah, I'm down to do that too. And I think you're just going because someone invited you and you want to meet people, but they don't know you actually do CrossFit as well. Like, that's a very bad example. But just in the instance of like meeting somebody in one setting and then meeting someone else who invites you to another setting and you're down to do it and people go, oh, all right, he does everything. I guess he just wants to be friendly with everybody. Why? They don't understand it. And it's just because you're nice. So stop being so nice. Freak people out. And another thing is that when you become the nice guy, people can start to expect it. So in your relationships, it can develop a lack of reciprocity because the other person becomes used to what you're doing. And if you're used to doing it, you're just going to do what you're used to. And if they become used to ignoring it and ignoring you, it's just going to seem unbalanced. And anything that's unbalanced is going to topple over. It can't work. So the number one thing that you can do to break free of being a nice guy and of the nice guy syndrome and being a people pleaser is just fully embrace your self-respect. Respect yourself enough to know when you don't like something and to say something. The first step is recognizing your own worth and the fact that you value yourself and how you feel, and that you don't have to put anybody before you. It is a choice to do that. And that's what makes it self-sacrificing when you do it repeatedly and you don't take into consideration yourself. So don't do things at the cost of your own happiness. And then also just have boundaries. Just know what it is that you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. Know who you are and what it is you stand for. If you know what you stand for and what you find tolerable and respectable, then you'll find it easier to say no to things that go against that, especially if you respect yourself. And once you really know who you are and you can answer those things, your authenticity overall is just going to be more prevalent because you don't have anything to figure out in your head and you're comfortable with the person that you've developed. So you're not trying to hide it or rebuild it or reprogram it or be anybody else once you are out in public, because you set with yourself enough to truly become comfortable with what it is that's in front of you. Why would I have any reason not bringing all of me to the table? And then you have to recognize and address when you are people pleasing, when you're doing something you don't want to, when you're trying to go the extra mile for a stranger, and just ask yourself, why? First things first, this starts with us, and it starts with what it is we allow. So you have to ask yourself, why do I do this? And then you have to realize when you are doing it and address whether or not it's okay or not. And then once you really start to prioritize your own mental health and you take into assess like your energy levels, am I tired? Am I sleepy? Is this going to make me tired or sleepy? Is this going to put me behind my schedule that I already have? If you have a schedule, if you have a plan, if you have a program for yourself, it's way easier to say no to things because they're going to interfere with what you already have going on. And that is why, as a man, period, but especially as a man in today's society, self-discipline is the biggest thing that you could do. It is a superpower. It is a life hack. Once you're able to develop a plan and stick to that plan and completely finish that plan, you'll be above so many people because we have the attention spans of goldfish nowadays. And I'm going to just leave that there. One thing you can do to help you develop breaking the nice guy syndrome is to engage in personal growth, seek out therapy, self-help books, learn about the power of self, learn about who you are, self-confidence, learn about healthy relationships, what healthy relationships look like. You can do self-reflection, go throughout your day and just say, at any point today, did I not like anything that was going on around me or any of the conversations or interactions that I had, and why didn't I? And if it is something that you think needs to change or can change, then feel free to address it. And when you put yourself in situations, ask yourself, do they align with your core values and your morals? Someone invites you to an event and you say yes to going because you don't want to hurt their feelings, but you don't agree with the atmosphere that you're being taken to. Don't do that. You don't have to. Be your friend. They'll understand you feel uncomfortable in these types of places. If you want to do something with me, we can do something else. I'll even let you make the next suggestion, but I don't want to go there. Plain and simple. If they don't respect that, they don't respect you. It's fine. You can have other friends. And you just got to work on expressing your own feelings, your wants and needs clearly without being afraid to hurt somebody's feelings or to impede on the status quo or to end a fracture a relationship. Like I said previously, if you saying, I don't like this, I didn't like that, I don't appreciate this, I don't want to go there. If you saying no to anything makes something incompletely, then it wasn't for you, and that's fine. But I hope that this helps somebody. I hope that it helps some of my fellas understand that yes, you can be nice, you can be kind, you can be giving, but don't say yes to everything just because you think the other person wants you to. Like, of course they're going to want you to say yes because they asked, but it shouldn't be a make or break if you say no. And if it is, that means they weren't really rocking with you from the start. And I'm also going to say this. There's some instances where people will ask you just to see what you do say so they could know how much they can get from you. You feel me? So if you just become better at saying no to things you don't want to do, you won't even find yourself in situations where people are testing you like that. And you won't have to worry about whether or not you're being tested or played with. Because people already know you're not going to do nothing you don't want to do. And you're not going for all of that. They'll be more surprised when you do say yes. If anything, lead with more no's than yeses. So once you do start saying yes, they're surprised. You feel me? Give them something to look forward to. They don't know that you're a nice guy or that you will say yes. So by the time you get to the saying yeses, they'll be like, oh my God, wow, it feel like a gift. But with that, I'm out. I hope this helps you. Hope it helps you better in your personal relationships and better in just understanding. No woman wants a pushover. No woman wants a nice guy. And nobody wants to be in business or partnership with a nice guy, because a lot of the times the nice guy will end up crashing out or doing disservices to himself and to his business by giving more than he's getting And in business, that means you're not making money. And in relationships, that means that the power dynamics are going to be off and the respect is going to be lacking. Someone is not going to respect the other person. In turn, it might just be both of you, because she's not going to respect how easy you are and how much of a pushover you are. You have no backbone, and you're not going to respect feeling taken advantage of. And then it's just going to become a problem. So nip it in the bud right now. Put your foot down, young man. Know who you are. Develop some self-discipline and some self-respect. Don't do things that you don't want to do. If it's going to set you back physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, don't do it. You feel me? You don't have to. If it's going to make you tired, if it's going to put you off schedule, you don't have to do it. I'm not telling you not to do it, because we are all supposed to be kind to each other, essentially servants unto one another for the betterment of each other in society. But that don't mean you're supposed to be out at 1 o'clock in the morning going to pick little shawty up because she ain't had the money to. No, bro. She ain't had the money to do it while I was outside, dog. Stop breaking your back to get to break somebody's back, bruh. It don't have to be that way, G. You're not going. I can't say that. You do not have to yes your way into the cat, dog. You do not have to become a footstool or a foot servant or an Uber or a taxi or a waiter or a food delivery man for this, bro. You don't have to do none of that to get to that, bro. You just have to be a self-valuing, self-respecting man who's capable of doing other things. Have a good conversation. You know what I mean? Have some wow factor about yourself. Have some depth, some interest, some swag. You feel me? Swag and some aura. Develop your aura. Find out who you are. Do some introspection. Study art. Study music. Learn some things. Learn to cook. Give yourself different talking points. Like, learn things about space, about nature, about flowers. And then worry about attracting a woman. Promise you it'll be a little bit easier than just doing things for her and saying yes all the time. That gets boring. You need somebody to shake it up. With that, I'm out for real this time. Go ahead, like, comment, share, subscribe. Keep the conversation circulating. Share this with somebody if it helped you. And tap in for more. I'll be back. Lone Wolf out.